Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils lose to the Mets again, but much more concerning. Cristopher Sanchez has a potential arm injury. We'll discuss it all in today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. That'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. So appreciate everyone who's done that, everyone who's going to do that. By the way, if you're not familiar with some of my work, I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for a little over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. So last night was a mess for the Phillies in multiple ways. I mean, we'll talk about the game a little bit, but the much bigger news is Cristopher Sanchez got lifted after 2 innings with left forearm tightness is what they're calling it. So we'll break down why that's a major concern for the Philadelphia Phillies. They also made a roster move earlier today. Weston Wilson was reinstated from the injured list. I actually really like this for where the team is at right now, but they made an interesting move to get him back up, and we will take all of that into consideration. And then I'm making a plea to Zack Wheeler to save us in our final segment as we preview game 3 of this series with the Mets. Phillies look to avoid this week. Let's start with that conversation on last night's game, though, because last night's game was over in the 3rd inning. I mean, we really should have looked at it that way. I kind of looked at it that way. Now, you never turn the game off and say, oh, okay, well, this is done. I've watched 2 innings of baseball. It's over. Nothing can happen, especially when it was a tight game for as long as it was. But when Cristopher Sanchez got pulled after throwing 58 pitches through 2 innings, well, the immediate concern was, oh, no, he's hurt. And unlike the Taijuan Walker situation from over the weekend where it was just tightness because the Phillies were scoring a bunch of runs, this was, it's tightness, but it's more concerning. Cristopher Sanchez has forearm tightness, and that is a really, really big issue for the Phillies. Now, they went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Not great. The bullpen, Joe Ross actually had a nice outing. Ryan Kirkering got touched up a little bit. I mean, this bullpen is not going to give you 7 innings of enough ball to keep you in a ball game. Now, as bad as the Phillies bullpen has been, I don't think there's many bullpens in baseball that you're getting 7 innings out of on a given night and feel very good about that because you just don't have that many quality arms in your average Major League Baseball bullpen. But still, if you're concerned about the bullpen still, you should be. If you're annoyed about the lineup, you should be. It has not been a good offensive series. And the bullpen, we know what they are, right? So that's how the Phillies lose the game. They had too many missed opportunities. They had chances, but they just can't seem to solve the Mets. And the Mets are very comfortable to hang around, chip away, big hits late in the game to kind of extend the lead out of reach and then just close the door, right? The Phillies are going to have to find a way to beat the Mets. Hopefully that's not a conversation we're having on our next episode because hopefully the Phillies can win the series finale, but it is something that we will discuss, the first matchup between these teams and why the mentality between these teams seems so different. But that's a conversation for when the series is over. The conversation for right now after last night's game, like losing a game on April 22nd, it's annoying when it's the Mets. It's annoying when it comes in that fashion and the offense doesn't really produce, but much more troublesome is the Cristopher Sanchez potential injury. Rob Thompson talked after the game. He said it's left forearm tightness. Now, we heard soreness when he was removed from the game. So I don't know, soreness, tightness. I don't know how to make heads or tails of that. It's just vernacular. Who knows? But I'm not going to get caught up in the wording of everything. What I am going to say is that Rob Thompson, after the game, said he saw the doctor, Sanchez, not Thompson, saw the doctor, and they don't think there's any structural damage. That's a good thing, but it's they don't think. They don't know. It wasn't yeah, he's fine, like we got with Taijuan Walker. It's we don't think it's too bad, but we don't know yet. He's going to be reevaluated in a couple of days. I'd be surprised if he makes his next start. That's me talking. Rob Thompson did not say anything about Sanchez's next start. I would be shocked if he makes his next start and they're not more cautious with him, considering it is still April. But here's where this becomes like Sanchez is your number one least losable pitcher, right? absolutely, you cannot afford to lose. Okay, Wheeler's probably one, but the way I think about it is where you're at, you need Sanchez has been better than Wheeler this year. He has been. And Sanchez is also supposed to be this young guy who's supposed to be like nice and durable and everything. If Zack Wheeler had injury issues at some point this year, knock on wood, I would not be like floored by that, right? He's an older guy and he's been around for a while and he's thrown a bunch of innings. We've seen the Phillies shut him down back in the 2023 season with shoulder soreness. And then he ended up taking a month off and he was fine in the postseason. But we've seen that from Zack Wheeler before. Nola has not been good. Taijuan Walker is Taijuan Walker. Ranger Suarez is not yet back with the team. And when he does come back, we'll have to see what type of shape he's in. Cristopher Sanchez has felt like so far this year kind of the linchpin that this Phillies rotation hinges around. And if he misses significant time, well, that messes up a whole bunch of stuff. That means Taijuan Walker has to stay in the rotation. It means the bullpen doesn't get the help from an extra arm going in there in Taijuan Walker. It means Ranger Suarez better be darn good to start because he very well could be their third best pitcher. Jesus Luzardo is obviously doing what he's doing. But Sanchez has felt like this guy that has just kind of been the steadying force of the Phillies rotation to this point in the season. And this isn't just a now issue, right? Like, let's say he misses his next start as he works some stuff out, no time on the injured list, makes the start after that, and then everything's all good, right? Not exactly. Guys don't get healthier as the season goes on, right? That's not how this works. It's rare that you see dudes when they're playing this many games in this many days feel better as they play more. You feel more banged up as the year goes on. You have more nagging stuff as the year goes on. So to have an arm injury to one of your most important starters in April, whether it's minor or major at this time, it's going to be something that we have in the back of our minds for the rest of the season. Does he last through 162? Does he last into the postseason? Will he have his best stuff? Is he durable enough for the usage he's going to get? And he had a great year last year, Cristopher Sanchez did, but it's not like he's this guy with proven track record of being available over and over and over again, like a guy like Aaron Nola has, like a guy like Zack Wheeler somewhat has. No, like we're still trying to figure out who Sanchez is long-term. He's good enough for them to give him the extension because his stuff's amazing. I don't fault them at all for that. He worked hard this offseason to build up his velocity, but with increased velocity comes increased stress on the arm. Increased stress on the arm comes a better chance for injuries. Better chance for injuries leads to him getting lifted from a game after 2 innings last night against the Mets, and he's not going to all of a sudden start throwing slower, right? Or like we hope, but that's not the idea. Maybe the extra velocity is too much stress for his arm. These are all like these bad thoughts that are in the back of my mind that none of them are true at this point, or at least known to be true, but you got to worry about it. You have right now in the Philadelphia Phillies starting pitcher group. Let's just look at this. You have Wheeler, who's been fine health-wise. Nola, who's been fine health-wise. Luzardo, who's been fine health-wise. But the reason Luzardo is on this team is because the Marlins had trouble with keeping him healthy, and that's why they felt somewhat comfortable with moving on from him in division. Now let's look at the rest of the guys that you have available. You have Taijuan Walker, who is what he is as a pitcher, but he also had the tightness a little bit already. They pulled him out of the game against the Marlins. You have Cristopher Sanchez, now feeling forearm tightness. You have Ranger Suarez, already missed the first part of the season. When he comes back, we'll be very cautious of what type of shape he is in. He's had injury issues galore, and you have Andrew Painter, who's still working his way back from Tommy John if you're looking at the minors. So more of your rotation is currently dealing with recovery from an injury or some type of issue than you have clearly healthy at this point. And one of the guys on the healthy side is only on the team because he wasn't healthy consistently enough. I mean, that's an absolute mess to be in for the Philadelphia Phillies, and there's not much they can do to avoid it. Like, injuries are part of the game, but it was a bad time to have Sanchez go down. It was bad for last night's game. That's basically what cost you last night's game. I know you say the offense, yes, the offense was not good, but you can win games where your offense is lackluster at points if you get great pitching. When one of your better starters only gives you 2 innings because he has to leave due to an injury, well, that is just a recipe for disaster. And it's one that could be a recipe for disaster later on in the season if this is a recurring injury, which arm issues, they're hard to get rid of. The only way, like, I'll just tell you, I had elbow issues in college, right? I'm not throwing 97, but I constantly was in physical therapy, constantly working on stuff because it would get better in the off season. And then when I started pitching again, it would just go back to it, right? Unless you get the full surgery for something, you don't have a full recovery necessarily. Even full surgery would be a major, major recovery time. And I asked an orthopedic surgeon that I went to for my elbow, like, what's going on, because it kept bothering me after I got done pitching in college, and I was pitching semi-pro ball, and I was like, what's the deal with this? And they're like, the only time your arm's going to feel better is when you literally stop playing baseball forever. I was just like, oh, well, I'm never going to stop, so I guess my arm's just going to hurt. Like, I give you that anecdote to basically tell you these things are nagging injuries that are very hard to get rid of when you have arm issues. They have the best care in the world. They have the best doctors in the world. Hopefully this is nothing, but it doesn't feel like nothing right now. And even if it's nothing in the current time, it doesn't mean it's not something that will create more issues down the line for Cristopher Sanchez. I don't want to sound alarmist, but when you hear arm soreness or arm tightness, that is an alarming thing for a very, very important pitcher on this staff. So the Phils lose, Sanchez is hurt, everybody's dying, our pets' heads are falling off, right? The Phils sure could use something to go their way. Well, did they get it in the injury sense with the move that they made this morning? I'm not saying Weston Wilson is going to be to this team what Cristopher Sanchez is to this team, but I do sneaky think that Weston Wilson being activated off the injured list is something that could really help this team from a couple of standpoints. We will discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Supply House first, though, because you need to get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, and that's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing or HVAC or electrical work or any of that stuff, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right, so you know how to use what you're getting. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Well, Supply House, they offer expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. You don't have to talk like a machine or a robot. We love that, right? And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. I don't even know where I could get a dedicated phone line outside of Supply House. No one's going to my mom wouldn't give me a dedicated phone line. Supply House is going to do that for you. My mom probably would, and she listens, so I love you, Mom. But I also love Supply House because thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Go ahead and check out our friends over at Supply House. Okay, so I know people are going to be like, Connor's crazy on this one. And I'm not saying that Weston Wilson is this all-star player. It's not getting Bryce Harper back, right? It's not getting Kyle Schwarber back. But Weston Wilson was activated off of the injured list. He is joining the team. We will talk in the final segment because he's in the lineup today against the New York Mets, which is surprising to me. The lineup I do not like today for the Phillies, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I do love Weston Wilson being available for the Phillies for a couple of reasons, even though there are questions about the move that was made to put him on the team. Now, Weston Wilson was activated. He was put on the active roster. He's on the 40-man roster, but somebody had to be sent down. And unfortunately, that was Cody Clemens. Now, I had someone tweeting at me just before I sat down to record this show. I don't like that Cody Clemens was the guy that was sent down. He's more of a major league player than Cal Stevenson, who is still on the roster. Why was it Cody Clemens? It's the same reason that I'm happy that Weston Wilson is back with the team. Cody Clemens is an infield-only guy, right? Plays the first base, plays second base, plays third base. Like, he's an infield. The Phillies infield is pretty set. Turner, Harper, Bohm, Stott, Sosa. Yeah, you've got the infield locked down. Okay, so there's not really a spot to put him. You're not going to play probably two backups in the infield on the same day, and you're not going to play him at shortstop, lefty for righty, because, well, he doesn't play shortstop, Cody Clemens. He was just positionally limited because the Phillies' holes are in the outfield right now, or their weaknesses are in the outfield right now. That's why Cal Stevenson's still here. That's why Cody Clemens was DFA. We'll see if Cody Clemens stays in the minors or if somebody goes out and decides to claim him. We'll see. But Cody Clemens, what killed him here was that he was an infielder only. Cal Stevenson's on this team because he's an outfielder. Weston Wilson, I'm happy he's back because he's an outfielder. Now, here's the thing with Weston Wilson. Everyone looks at him and they're like, he was in the minors forever. He's a quad A player. This, that, and the other thing with Weston Wilson, I get it. Again, I'm not telling you the guy's an all-star. I'm not even telling you he's a league average MLB player. Like, we don't know because we haven't had the proper amount of time to evaluate Weston Wilson, and we should not have had the proper time to evaluate Weston Wilson because this team is competing for a World Series, right? That's the goal for the Phillies, even though they're playing some rough baseball right now. They're trying to be World Series champions, and you're not going to get there most likely with Weston Wilson playing a significant role on this team, so he gets minimal opportunities in his first couple stints. But Weston Wilson can play the outfield. So he now adds another bit of depth there. And guess what? The Edmundo Sosa left field experiment, cool, right? Like, I like it in very, very small doses, like once a month maybe. Slightly more than Kyle Schwarber should play the outfield, which in my opinion should be never. But he's already done it once this year. Sosa has done it once this year. Like, that was an experiment to try and get Sosa's bat in the lineup and try and somehow piece together a way to have outfield depth. Part of that was because Weston Wilson went down early in spring training with an oblique injury. Well, now that he's back, you don't have to worry about playing Sosa out of position and play him in the outfield. You now have another right-handed bat on the bench that you can use for a guy like Max Kepler, a guy like Brandon Marsh when he's back healthy, even though Rojas is playing really well right now. RBI single last night for Johan Rojas. I like what I've seen from him at the plate. You can go ahead, and he plays the infield as well, so you could always potentially shift around your infield to get him at bats. Like, Weston Wilson's a more versatile defender, more versatile player. That's why he's good to have up here. But also to all the people who are like, well, Weston Wilson's a nobody. He's not going to help this team. He's a bench bat. Why is he going to be like the savior of the Phillies? First of all, I didn't say he's the savior of the Phillies. I said it's just nice to have him back. Here's what I'll look at, though. In his career at the major league level, he's had 104 at-bats. Very small sample size. He's batting .288 with 4 bombs. He did hit for the cycle last year. The guy barrels some baseballs. Like, it would not be the most shocking thing to me if Weston Wilson becomes a solid bench piece for the team this year. I would love to see that for him because he's an easy guy to root for. All the time he spent in the minors, everything he did down there to try and fight his way to the major league level. I want Weston Wilson to succeed for him and for the Philadelphia Phillies. And if they have another usable right-handed bat that you can play in the outfield, well, Rojas is not going to hit like this forever, right? And the question before Wilson came back up for this team is, well, if Rojas hits a slide, do you play Marsh every day or do you play Marsh more? And Marsh has been really, really bad. If Kepler needs a day off, do you play Marsh over there? Well, now you could play a full right-handed outfield without having to play Sosa out of position, which helps the Phillies' versatility in creating a lineup. Like, the more good players in roles that you need that you can have on a team, the better. Weston Wilson fits what this team needs right now better than Cody Clemens, better than Cal Stevenson, and that's why it's good for them to have him back. If he's a .288 hitter, that's one hell of a bonus. But even if he's a .250 hitter, a .255 hitter, like, okay, you have another usable right-handed bat that can play the outfield. That is something that the Philadelphia Phillies have desperately needed so far this year. Rojas has given them a little bit of that. I don't expect that to continue forever. It's nice to have other options. Does this mean that, wow, well, now you don't have to make a trade at the deadline in a couple months because you have Weston Wilson? No, they need to add a right-handed power bat. Everyone's been saying it. Everybody's right. But for the time being, you could find worse stopgaps than Weston Wilson, I believe. We will have to see how that all plays out. But having more usable players is not a bad thing, right? And maybe, just maybe, this opens up the opportunity to do other stuff with the lineup or other stuff defensively that helps the Phillies a little bit more, because there have been points through the first 24 games that they have been struggling to figure out what their lineup and what their defensive alignment is going to look like. So Wilson back up with the team. Clemens DFA. Cal Stevenson still here. The outfield now has 1, Rojas, 2, Kepler, 3, Castellanos, 4, Schwarber, 5, Stevenson, 6, Wilson, and a half, Sosa. And then when Marsh comes back, he'll come back for Cal Stevenson, most likely. But that is that's a good amount of outfielders that are somewhat usable. You just kind of have to figure out who's going to hit when and how they're going to work in, and if you can get something out of the guys that you don't necessarily trust, like Marsh, Stevenson, Wilson, Rojas. Like, there's question marks about all of those guys. We will see. But one of them should be hot at any given time, right? Or at least usable. That's the hope for the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, as much as I like Weston Wilson being back on the team, and I think he deserves his spot that he's going to have, I don't know that I love him being in the lineup right off the rip, even though the Phillies are facing a lefty today. I don't know that I like a lot of stuff about the Phillies lineup today. And there's one thing that I absolutely hate. We will go through the lineup. We will preview game 3, and I will make my plea to Zack Wheeler to please save something out of this series. We will discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about wonderful pistachios first, because if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, you got to crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. A lot of people have been asking me, Connor, how have you gotten so jacked and ready for summer? Connor, why are you shredded? And I tell them, wonderful pistachios. It's that easy. Okay, so no one's asking me why I'm shredded. But if they were, I would tell them wonderful pistachios, because I've been crushing these things. I mean, I love the no shells version that they have because I'm too lazy to crack the actual shells open. But they have the no shells. They have the classic where you can crack the shells. They have a bunch of different flavors and seasonings. They got all kinds of great stuff over there to give you the experience you want when you're eating wonderful pistachios. They're a great on-the-go option because their packs, they come resealable with a little the Ziploc, so you can take them with you. It's the perfect snack for someone who's trying to get in shape for summer, for someone who's just trying to get in shape while you sit on the couch and watch the Phillies play. Like, it's an elite level snack. The taste, the good for you stuff. That's why you got to get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. All right, let's get ready for some more Phillies baseball, folks. I know you're excited. It's been a nightmare in New York these first couple games. I know. It's just been a very disheartening series, from the fact that it's the Mets, your division rival. There's a huge rivalry. We hate Mets fans and Mets players. The fact that they were the team that knocked you out of the postseason. The fact that it's up there. You got to hear their rat fans calling for MVP Francisco Lindor 24 games into the season. All of this stuff. I get it. Your team's good. Whatever. I'll still take the Phillies in the long run. That sounds crazy right now. It should sound crazy right now because they have not looked competitive in this series. But at the end of the day, we got to continue to move on, right? It's still just April 23rd as I'm recording this. This team is still 2 games above 500. They're going to win enough baseball games to be in the postseason. I'm not worried about postseason or anything for the Phillies. I'm just focused on today's game. The good thing about baseball is when you're in a bad stretch, every day pretty much gives you a chance to break out of it. It also gives you a chance to slide deeper into the hole. We will see what the Phillies have to do today. I do not like the lineup that they have facing off against David Peterson. Zack Wheeler on the mound, I love that. David Peterson is a lefty. I figured you'd see something screwy. It is the final day before the Phillies get their first off day in 16 days. Or 17, I guess, technically, by the time they hit the off day tomorrow. So they have been going through it. right now and trying to survive with some injury issues and some performance issues and everything like that. So this is a lineup in a 1:10 p.m. game this afternoon, a getaway game. I figured you'd see something weird, but I don't love a couple of things. Trey Turner's leading off, playing shortstop. Bryce Harper's batting second, playing first base. Kyle Schwarber's batting third, DHing. At face value, that's not a huge issue, but if you've been following the Phillies lineups recently, you know that Bryson Stott has been batting leadoff. So Turner batting leadoff means one of two things. Against the lefty, they either move Stott down, who's been tearing the cover off the ball, or they don't have him in the lineup. It is the latter. Bryson Stott not in the lineup today. I hate that. He's been red hot. I wish he was playing today. I wish they would have let him play second. They got Edmundo Sosa in at second base for him. Sosa batting seventh. But I would have rather seen Sosa play at short for Trey Turner, who has had a really tough series up in New York, than taking out the leadoff hitter who has been a great table setter for this team. But again, Turner leading off, Harper batting second, Schwarber DHing, batting third, Castellanos cleanup playing right. JT Realmuto is behind the dish today. Alec Boehm at third, batting sixth. As we already told you, Sosa playing second base, batting seventh. Then you got Weston Wilson in left field, batting eighth. I think Max Kepler's put some solid swings on some baseballs up in New York as well. They're going with the handedness. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 righties in the lineup. The only two lefties they have are Harper and Castellanos. Now, I'd imagine that if you get to a spot where you need to pinch hit for somebody, a righty with a righty coming out of the pen, Bryson Stott will be available to pinch hit, would be my guess. But still, righty heavy with a couple of solid bats right now on the bench. I don't love it. Now, David Peterson has been good against lefties in his career. He's been solid to start the season, 3.27 ERA, 22 innings pitched. He struck out 26 guys. Good strikeout stuff, especially against lefties. So that's why they did. Like, I get why. I just do not like it. I understand the thought process. I think that the result that they got to is the incorrect one. But we'll see if they can salvage a win. I mean, ultimately, what you're hoping for at this point is just Zack Wheeler's Zack Wheeler. He's had a couple of non-Wheeler-esque performances lately, but he's had some really good ones as well. He's still striking out a crazy amount of guys. He's struck out 41 in 31 in the third innings. He's given up 5 home runs, though, which has been the non-Zack Wheeler type thing. He's only walked 6, so the control is still good. His whip is .99. It's just the hits that he's giving up. He's given up homers. So you got to keep the ball in the yard. The Mets have shown that they can hit the ball out of the yard against the Philadelphia Phillies. In case you needed any reminder, yeah, the Mets can take the Phillies deep. It's annoying, but it's reality. You need a really, really good start out of Zack Wheeler, especially you look at the past couple of games. And Nola wasn't great, but he got you through 6. You got to go to the pen in the third inning for Sanchez yesterday. On Sunday, you went to the pen earlier than you probably needed to for Luzardo. Before that, Taijuan Walker was removed after 4 innings. Like, you've been taxing this bullpen. And if Wheeler doesn't go out there and give you 7 innings, you're not winning this ballgame. I'm telling you that right now. He's got to go be dominant, and he's got to go deep into this game. And then somehow you got to find a way to get through the final 2 innings with, like, Alvarado and Strahm. But if you can get down to the 2 innings worth of work, every once in a while, you can just throw Alvarado, Strahm, hey, we're good. Don't worry about the bullpen. We got 2 great arms. You can't do that every day. That's more of a problem for the season going forward. Today, you can do that. So, really, really need Wheels to be the guy, right? These are those starts that so many times Zack Wheeler has been what I called Cristopher Sanchez earlier on in the episode. I called Sanchez the steadying presence in this Phillies rotation so far this year. Well, Wheeler, over the past 3 or 4 years, has been that guy for the Philadelphia Phillies. So can he be it again here? Can he be the stopper, the guy that looks at you losing 3 straight games and says, screw that, not today. You know how good I am? You know why I was in the Cy Young conversation last year? You know why I'm going to be again this year? Because I'm Zack freaking Wheeler, and I'm going to go out there and shove. So that's what you need. You need to take advantage of what you can against David Peterson with the handedness. I know we have the nightmares of Peterson from last year's postseason, who threw well against the Phillies. I don't know what the offense is going to give you, because they hit, but they don't hit in big spots. They just kind of need one of those like breakout big hits to start to build the momentum a little bit. I thought they got it with the Rojas single early yesterday. that didn't play out. So we'll see. I mean, if the offense can figure it out, great. But the most important thing is Zack Wheeler goes out there and he gives you a long, strong start against the Mets in Game 3. I don't want to do an episode about the Phillies being swept tomorrow. I don't want to do that. Zack Wheeler is the man who stands in between us and doing that. So let's cross our fingers and pull for Wheels. It's a wheels up day. Hopefully he gets the job done. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for joining us again. We come to you from part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube, all that great stuff that helps us out, helps you out. All of that I appreciate you very much doing. And I will talk to you tomorrow on our next episode of Locked On Phillies.